Okay, hello everyone. Welcome. My name's Carmen Lizasoain from Switch On Health, and welcome to tonight's free webinar, which is the Biology of Booze Part 2. If you're watching this live, please do stick around for comments and questions at the end, and feel free to pop in any questions in the chat box as we go. We are excited to announce that there will be a draw for $50 credit from us here at Switch On Health to go towards your studies. If you are a current student, this can go towards your next enrollment in your current course of study, or you might like to do one of our short courses. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're welcome to pop any questions you have into the comments box below, and we promise to get back to you. Also, if you're watching on YouTube and you like what we do, please do click on the subscribe button, because the more subscribers we have, the more we can offer, and we look forward to offering you more. So tonight, I am very excited to be co-presenting with our very own Nathalie. So you may have been lucky enough to see Nathalie's presentation during Natural Medicine Week on the biology of booze. So this is the follow-up or the sequel to that presentation. So Nathalie is our nutritionist, and she is works for client support here at Switch On Health, and she'll be doing the first half of the presentation. And I'm a naturopath, and I work for Switch On Health as the clinic coordinator, and I'll be doing the second half with a more of a naturopathic perspective. So we'll cover off herbs and nutrients to assist with protection from alcohol and its metabolism. And we'll offer some simple tips and strategies on reducing or removing alcohol, and tips for a happy and healthy sober lifestyle. So, Nathalie, I will now hand it over to you. Thank you.
Great. Hello, everybody. So I'm going to share my screen. So Carmen, please let me know if there is any troubles, but that should work. I'm sharing screen right now. How is that, Carmen? Can you let me know?
That's perfect, Nathalie. All good.
Yeah. Great. Fantastic. So if the screen works, if you can hear my voice. So as Carmen was mentioning, this is a follow-up on part 1. Though if you have not watched it, it's all good. I'm sure you can get some benefits from tonight's presentation. So it's going to be very practical. So we're going to offer you some strategies, nutritional point of view, and naturopathic perspective. I want to remind you guys that everything that we share, it is general advice. If you are studying at Switch On Health, you want to become a practitioner, certainly, and you know that every person is unique. So what I'm sharing tonight, what Carmen will share, it definitely needs to be adapted to the person's situation. It's very important to remember that. So I've made a collage. Perhaps you can imagine yourself, or if you imagine your future clients, or if you're already practicing, what do they want to achieve out of drinking less, perhaps, or becoming sober, repairing their body, recovering from perhaps like too much drinking. So I really like the image of the Superman with a cape and a yellow t-shirt. So I don't know if some people can identify their future self. So let's get started. So another disclaimer here. We're not stating that alcohol should be part of a healthy diet, but we want to support you and support anyone who's going to watch this replay to maintain optimal health and to live every moment of their life with a sense of empowerment and a feeling of vitality. So even though they choose to drink moderately or become sober. I've put some phone numbers here if you or someone needs help urgently. I'm not here to remind you the guidelines about alcohol consumption, so please check those guidelines if you have never read them. It could be interesting. I'm moving on, and so as a nutritionist, tonight I want to basically I have two parts. The first, I would like to share with you a few tools so you feel empowered and you can share that with your people you work with as well. And the second aspect of my presentation is strategies for gut health. And I want to explain here. Last time in the previous presentation, I was sharing that alcohol consumption impacts different systems in the body. It impacts so many systems. I could not focus on everything, so I had to make a choice, and I decided that I'm going to talk about gut. And even gut is actually huge. So I'm going to tell you what we're going to talk about. So it's all about repairing one aspect of your body. And so let's move on so you will know more in a moment. So some people do dry July. Other people want a change for good. But anyways, here are some tools to empower yourself. Another website, if you are not sure, and that's a website that I recommend to anyone who want to make a change with their drinking habits, to check if their health is at risk regarding alcohol consumption. There are some levels. Some people drink more than others, more frequently. There is like a dependence. And so watch the replay of part 1 if you want to know more about the different risks and the diseases. Okay, tools to empower yourself. If you choose to drink less, to have more awareness around your drinking habits or become sober, it's very important that you know why you're doing this. For any change, anything we want to change in our lives, I really believe it's important to reflect, to take some time to know why we're doing that. And it's not just about thinking about it. A strategy that I've got myself is to actually have a notebook and a whiteboard, and also I record my voice. So if there is really something that I want to change in my life, I'm going to record my voice. And in difficult times, I'm going to listen to myself again so I can remember, why am I doing this? So just something a strategy for you. What is your why? Why are you doing this? And yeah, just putting that somewhere where you can see it, you can hear it, you can remind yourself. Second point, who is supporting you in becoming this version of yourself? When we decide to make a change, and especially regarding an habit, drinking, it can be actually very hard sometimes to find a couple people who will be fully on board with you. So it's great if you have 2 people, 3, it's amazing. Sometimes I'm going to be, and I'm talking from experience, big changes I've made in my life, actually didn't find anyone. I was like, I think I'm the only one to really believe in this. And so that's why I'm actually mentioning point number 3. It's sometimes we might need to get support from external environment. And even if you have the support from 2 friends, your friends or your partner cannot be your everything support. So it's really important to, before you make that change, to think, oh, where can I get actually some support from a professional? Is there a group I could join? So even if you think about one thing, that's going to be very helpful. Then I'm talking about tools to face yourself. 15 years ago, I had absolutely no clue of, what would that mean to have tools for myself. And I actually mean by that, it's an internal, like a toolbox. So in those moments when you don't have your friends, when you don't have your psychologist, how do you actually soothe yourself if there is no drinking? So it's important to perhaps join, maybe start listening to some meditations, maybe go to a dance class, maybe you want to start breath work, maybe you want to start painting, singing, having mantras, writing poetry, really having something that you can use as a way to be with yourself. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Your toolbox can evolve over time. You will add new things, and you're gonna sometimes try things and it's not gonna work. So that's what I'm gonna talk about at the end, the mistakes. But before that, if you decide to make a change, to drink less, to not drink, have a think about the things you could try. Like, what are you adding? What are you changing in your life? And maybe this is going to be nutrition and herbs and teas and these kind of things. So can't wait to share with you some nutrition strategies. And I want to remind you that it's very important. On your journey, there will be some disappointment. You're going to be disappointed about yourself. It might happen. Mistakes, you might try things, you don't like them. You try a social group, you just can't handle it. So I really invite you to think, there's no mistake. Every day is a new day. You can try again, try again, try again. And please, yes, celebrate yourself for trying. So I hope that helps. Strategies for gut health. So now it's time for you to really make sure you have a pen and a paper. As I said, it's not a protocol, it's not an individual protocol, but definitely this might give you some ideas. And as I'm going to share some foods and nutrients, some people might be like, oh, I can't eat that. Or some people can't eat that. Well, it's actually a great point, because if you can't have it, maybe there is a sign there and it's going to help your practitioner to help you finding out why you can't have onions, or why you can't have potatoes or raw apples. So the gut. The gut, it is this big tube from mouth to anus. Mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, anus. It's a lot. So that's why I put this picture of this lady, like, whoa, there's a lot. So I'm not going to talk about every single part of the gut. So the gut is impacted when there is alcohol consumption. What is impacted? There are a few things, but tonight I'm choosing to focus on the integrity of the intestinal barrier. So the lining of the gut. Basically, alcohol impacts intestinal permeability. It increases intestinal permeability. That's what we call a leaky gut. When I say impacts, some people might actually have no clue and be like, no, I'm fine. But it has been evidenced that alcohol consumption definitely impair the integrity of the gut barrier. So you're going to have access to those slides. So I thought that would be good to have those diagrams. So take some time later on to have a look at it. I'm going to move on so we can talk about those strategies. So as a reminder, if you study, or perhaps you have not reached that point, the gut barrier has actually two functions. It's pretty amazing. It is, so the internal part, like in that tube, a mouth to anus, and it protects us from the external environment. It is the interface between external and internal. So it has a role of defending ourselves from pathogens, foreign antigens, bacteria, so what we don't want. And at the same time, it's pretty amazing. It has this role to select nutrients and water so they can go through our circulation. So that's when it works. When it works well, it does that. The problem is if this gut barrier is impaired, there is impaired intestinal integrity, which is actually can be increased intestinal permeability. And I'm talking about tight junctions here, because this is one of the structures of the gut lining that get really impacted. When that doesn't work, some images for you here, then you can have a look later on of the small, like very small parts of our gut lining, the villi and the junction, so you can have a look at that later on. What can happen when intestinal integrity is impaired? So what happens is the immune system reacts. And this actually creates a reaction into the body and can lead later on to inflammation. But with that list that I have here, I'm not going to talk about everything. Immune system compromised, malabsorption of nutrients. And in clinical practice, it's been very much noticed that people develop food intolerances. And I've put lactose, fructose, gluten, but that's there are other things that can happen. Food intolerances do not only show up in the gut. Food intolerances can show up with brain fog, lack of concentration, joint pain, fatigue, sleep disturbances, anxiety. So it can really, really impair daily life. What do we do? So here are some practical things. I really like the idea, if someone really wants to take care of themselves, to have a specific journal for like my food, what I drink, how I feel. Notice for maybe 3-4 days, let's say 4 days, what you eat and how you feel 10 minutes after, 3 hours after, 5 hours after. And notice your mental state, your emotional state, your physical state. And if there are any food that are actually offending you, yeah, take note of that and remove them. It's going to give you relief to your system. I'm not saying you should remove those foods forever. Some people are like, oh no, I'm not going to have coffee for the rest of my life. I'm not saying that, but it's very important that you notice what is offending you and giving your body a chance to just get some relief. Then I'm talking about gluten here. Gluten is actually gluten-containing foods, especially if you've been drinking. You might have an increased permeability. Gluten-containing foods have been studied, and it's over a decade now, to trigger the release of a substance called zonulin in the gut lining, and it opens tight junctions. So especially if you've been drinking, that could be an idea to remove the heavy gluten-containing foods like pizzas and pastry and kebabs and the kind of things. Or even if you are someone who consumes a lot of gluten-containing grains, maybe just being mindful of that and giving your body a break from gluten-containing foods. Now I'm going to talk about the migrating motor complex. And that's something that I don't know if anyone has heard about this one. When I saw that name for the first time, I was like, oh, what is this? And I'm going to be very honest here. It's something I have noticed, maybe because I'm French. But in Australia, a lot of people do takeaways. And so they drink, they eat very frequently. And it's part of the culture, and it's fun. I love having a takeaway coffee. I found that it was amazing that when I arrived in Australia and just eating on the bus and everywhere. The fact is, when you do that, you're not giving a break to your system. So the migrating motor complex is the house cleaner of your gut. So it could be a strategy. Maybe you want to do this gradually to give yourself between 3 and 5 hours without any food during the day. So you have a breakfast, you have a lunch, you have a dinner. And then you give your body a chance to remove all the debris and all the things that is not needed, so your gut is cleansed. It's a mini cleansing in between meals. So it's something that has been evidenced. It really helps your digestive system to get healthier and help intestinal integrity. So I'm not going to talk about every nutrient here, but you have the list and you can take a screenshot if you want to. I want to talk about glutamine. I'm pretty obsessed with glutamine, especially because it's very hard to find anything about it. But in my personal experience, when I saw a naturopath actually 10 years ago, she said, have some cabbage juice. And she definitely found so many traditional books from naturopathy and nutrition that were saying that cabbage juice had a lot of glutamine. So glutamine is a conditional amino acid. So it means if you don't have it in your diet, your body will create it from other substances. So it's actually from glutamate and ammonia, and there's an enzyme, glutamine synthetase. So your body makes it, though we actually make normally 80 grams of it per day, which is massive. And it is, maybe you will be surprised by this, this is actually the fuel for your intestinal cells. So your intestinal cells need to actually, they eat that glutamine. And glutamine is very helpful, especially when we are stressed out. It helps us when we have infection. It helps when we have like small trauma in the body, like physical. And so it's actually incredibly useful amino acid for the body. So the foods that have it, and you might take some notes now about this. I've got bone broth, seafood, organ meat. And I know some people are vegan, vegetarians, so I'm going to have some other options. Poultry, pork, red meat, protein-rich dairy, and what I've got here, cabbage, asparagus, broccoli. So just ideas so you can increase your glutamine intake to help your intestinal cells. I'm personally going to have a soup with broth tonight, so it's actually very easy to do once you are in a routine. Something to think about, organizing yourself. I'm going to move to the next, the last one, quercetin. I want to talk about this one, and then that's probably, I'm going to have another one after that, and it's going to be the end for my part, so please pay attention. Quercetin, I've read so many papers over the last year. It's actually a flavonoid, so it's in plants, and it has been evidenced as a phytonutrient that help intestinal integrity. You find quercetin in apples, black and green tea, brassica vegetables, which are the family of cabbages, buckwheat. I find buckwheat is pretty nice to put in salads. If you want to activate it, it's like really nice. It's very crunchy. Garlic, red grapes, red onions, tomatoes. What do I have here as well? And I have another list here with rocket, fennel, okra, and I'm stepping into the naturopathic world, but I eat a lot of coriander leaves, chopping on my meals, and coriander has a lot of quercetin. So you might be, interested in helping your intestinal gut barrier. So perhaps adding some quercetin rich foods is what you need to do. All right, so I'm gonna carry on. Now I just want to speak about, so these are nutrients that help your gut barrier. So we have some fats here. So have your research later on. EPA, DHA, short chain fatty acids, zinc, vitamin K, vitamin Bs, some specific probiotics. SB means Saccharomyces boulardii. It's been researched for the gut lining. And prebiotics. I just want to finish on the vitamin Bs. Vitamin B is very important for intestinal integrity. And so I've got here nutritional yeast. It covers your needs in B1 if you have 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast per day. Legumes. I personally realized I don't eat enough legumes. Whole grains, asparagus, beef, lamb. I've got legumes again. Perhaps I just was a bit obsessed. Nuts, almonds. Yeah, nuts. Avocado, eggs, organ meat. And then I've got some broccoli here, chicken, and I've got mackerel, salmon, sardines, sunflower seeds. I've got a little bit more with here bananas, carrots, so lentils, part of the legume family. And what else do I have? Oysters. Oysters, yeah, for the bee. So I hope you enjoyed hearing this presentation. That was really some ideas for you to perhaps create a shopping list to help your intestinal, your gut barrier. A few photos here, and you might think, oh, I can't have that, I can't have that. But just something that will be helpful for your practitioner to help you actually heal your body if you can't have those foods. And these are photos of the meals I've had, and I'm pretty proud of myself. So you can see here, I've got the broth twice. And I think it's because I'm pretty obsessed with my very easy broth soup every night at the moment. Yeah, so just a few tips. You can take a screenshot of this one, writing a shopping list, thinking about menus for 3 days, not being afraid of repeating, enjoying yourself, get support, and please celebrate yourself as much as possible. And when you fail, start again. So I'm gonna hand it over to Carmen. These are some resources I have here. You can take a screenshot, but please feel free to contact Switch on Health if you have any questions about the reference. All right, I'm going to stop the share.
Okay, thank you, Nathalie. That was so beautifully articulated and some excellent strategies in there. I'm interested in your bone broth recipe and wondering whether perhaps you might like to share that. We can, because we often share recipes in our newsletters. That would be great to share that one. I'm sure everyone will benefit from that. So I'm just going to go share my screen now. And it's like the wrong setting, isn't it? What does that look like for you, Nathalie?
So I see your slides on the side, so we need to see a full view of your, we need to see the slide, slide only.
Give me 1 second and do that for me. So bear with me and I will just share my screen. No, that's not going to do it either. All right, might just have to be like this for me. I can't get that on full screen.
Yeah, that's good.
Hang on.
Should be good.
Here we go.
Oh, yes, we have it.
Yes.
Yeah, great.
I'll just skip to where we're up to. Perfect. Okay, yay. All right, so moving on to part 2. So a little bit of naturopathic perspective. So a bit of an overview of what I'll touch on today is some herbal support for leaky gut, just following on from Nathalie's explanation of leaky gut. Re-evaluating your why. I will be reiterating a lot of what Nathalie said. So talking about behavior change, liver health, herbal support for alcohol withdrawal, lifestyle changes, and other resources and support. So when we're looking at herbs for leaky gut, to address the intestinal permeability, instead of going through all of the technical names of the actions, we just want to talk about what they're going to do. So we want to be reducing irritation, soothing the inflamed mucous membranes. We want to be stimulating digestion and the production of pancreatic enzymes. So a lot of your bitter herbs can be doing that. We want to support immune function, reduce the allergic response and the hypersensitivity for food. To food, increasing the production of bile from the liver, as well as increasing the bile release from the gallbladder. So soothing and anti-inflammatory effects with demulcents, protecting the mucous membranes from damage, strengthening the mucosa and preventing damage, and assisting the healing of the gastric mucous membranes. So you'll get these slides. So in your own time, you can have a look more in greater detail. So some examples of some of the herbs that can be performing those functions for us are albizia, Bakel skullcap, tylophora, nettle, turmeric, boswellia, slippery elm, licorice, golden seal, calendula, gentian, peppermint, ginger, fennel, and lemon balm. So just looking back again at your why or your motivation. So as we know, everyone is different. Everyone has a unique presentation, whether it be yourself or your clients. So what motivates some people will be different to what motivates others. So keeping in mind these sort of general points about alcohol and its effects on us. So it is inflammatory, it's neurotoxic, damages the microbiome and intestinal permeability, as we've just heard from Nathalie, and contributes to nutritional deficiencies, some more so than others. It negatively impacts sleep, mood, and cognitive function, contributes to weight gain, and it increases the visceral fat. It can also contribute to fatty liver, high cholesterol, impaired with hormonal clearance, contributes to many cancers, and actually worsens all perimenopausal symptoms. So when we're looking at your why, like I said, everyone has their own story. So what really sort of stands out for one person might really hit home, and it might be like, right, that's it. I'm going to do something about this. So Lara Briden, I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she's authored many books. And she, according to Lara Briden, the safest amount of alcohol for breast and brain health is none. So my personal story, I have a very strong family history of breast cancer. So one of my motivations when, to study to become a naturopath was I needed to do everything that I could to prevent breast cancer. I don't want to wait until I get it and then start worrying about how to treat it. So the statistic there is 8% of breast cancers can be attributed directly to alcohol consumption. So also when we're sort of taking control of our own health, we need to have a look at, being mindful that some things we have control over and some things we don't have control over. And this is what I talked a lot about with my clients. So we need to have a look at what we can do. So one of the factors that, I'm experiencing at the moment, like as we all are, we're all getting older, and I turned 50 last year. And I kind of thought, well, that increases my chances of, my risk of breast cancer. And I can't actually do anything about that. Okay, I've turned 50. I can't, there's no preventative strategy from stopping, getting older. So what I can do is I can have control over everything, lifestyle and diet wise. I can choose what I put in my mouth. I can choose what I eat. I can choose what I drink. I can choose my lifestyle. I can choose what I do with my life that's going to impact my health. So when you make the decision, if you're making a decision to reduce your alcohol intake or cut it out completely, and that's your journey and that's your choice, just be mindful that there is peer pressure. Even though we're all adults, there will be, it will be testing your willpower and your sort of sense of self-worth. So that decision that you're making, are you making it with conviction? And you might even find that at this point in your life, more than ever, it might bring out qualities that you didn't know you had. It might bring out that assertiveness, and it can be quite empowering to make that decision and follow through with it. So when you're making behavior changes, and this can be regarding, reducing or quitting alcohol, but it can be for anything really. If you're tempted with any sort of habit that you're trying to change, you can implement these 4 Ds. So that involves delay, distract, deep breathing, and drink a glass of water. So you can delay the decision to have the glass of wine or rum and coke or whatever it is. You can distract yourself and find something else to do. You can just stop for a minute and do some deep breathing, or you can go and drink a glass of water. And these may seem really simplistic, and you might be thinking, well, that's not going to help me. But all these little simple things can be very effective. And, I encourage you to try these things when you have, a craving for something that you want to change. So, remembering, so we're looking now at the liver. So we can't have a talk about alcohol without mentioning the liver. So alcohol is a poison or a toxin. So the liver being one of the body's major organs of detoxification or elimination is getting, more challenged the more alcohol you have. So the liver has over 500 different vital functions, and breaking down alcohol is just one of those. So if you're really giving it a pounding by, binge drinking or having multiple drinks per day, you're making the liver work overtime in that it's not going to be as efficient in doing all those other 499 vital functions, which will have a flow-on effect to other areas of your health as well. So when you are drinking alcohol consistently, it can lead to fatty liver, and then more seriously, hepatitis, cirrhosis, and even liver cancer. So yeah, the liver is always working hard, and we need to, kind of make sure we are looking after it. So reducing your alcohol intake and supporting your liver can have that flow-on effect to other areas of health, such as your menstrual cycle, your sleep patterns, your energy levels, your brain function. So some foods to include, and there's like obviously a whole heap of things, but some standout foods: garlic, onion, dandelion leaves, radish, and leeks. So they can help to lighten the liver load, support the sulfation pathway, including your body's glutathione levels, which is a key detoxifier. So herbal considerations when you are looking at the detoxification or the withdrawal process, and also addressing the underlying causes of addiction. So these are some of those herbal actions, but when you are considering herbs for alcohol, just keep in mind that a herbal tincture or a liquid herb is going to have a certain amount of alcohol in that. So it may or may not always be appropriate for the particular client. So you may like to consider a glycetract or a tablet version of the herbs instead. So what we're looking at doing with these herbal actions are reducing the oxidation, which is part of the phases of detoxification, obviously improving the detoxification, cleansing the blood, protecting the liver, restoring the health of the liver. If I can just ask everyone to make sure that they're on mute, please, if your microphone is on mute. So then also addressing things like depressive symptoms and anxiety, supporting the adrenal glands, helping to promote sleep, helping the bowels as another detoxification pathway and organ, reducing nausea, strengthening the nervous system, and even helping with muscle spasms and cramps as well that you could be experiencing. So adrenal function is important to support that as well, because when you're experiencing adrenal burnout, which a lot of alcoholics or addicts do, you're producing that excess cortisol. And so we need to be supporting the adrenal function. And some of those more specific herbs are withania, rhodiola, ginseng, and also the amino acid tyrosine. So some examples of some of those herbs, and I won't go through them all, but you've got all that information to read up on later, is passion flower in so many ways. You can see it there. It's one of my favorite herbs to prescribe for my clients. St. Mary's thistle, globe artichoke, St. John's wort, cleavers, andrographis, oat straw, turmeric, kava, valerian, rosemary, and ginger. So when you're doing let's say you're withdrawing from alcohol, cutting down or cutting out, it's going to involve major routine changes to your lifestyle. It's a huge commitment, and it's very challenging, and it will take a lot of, different aspects of your commitment. So you might be needing to focus more on other activities that you can do, because if you think you need alcohol to relax, you need alcohol to enjoy yourself, you need alcohol to, whatever it is, various reasons, what else can you do that's going to fulfill those, as well as fulfilling the time that you would spend drinking alcohol? So I know it probably sounds cliche, but one of the things is just considering what brings you joy, and you might not even know. So, you might like to experiment with different things like art or craft, anything that, makes you experience mindfulness, nature walks, gardening. learning an instrument, enjoying music, whether it be playing music or dancing, like Nathalie said before. So when you're looking at changes of routine, it might be that you come home after a stressful day and you think you need to crack open a beer or pour yourself a glass of wine because that's the habit that you've gotten into. So let's change that around and do something else. Maybe every day after you come home from a day, whether it's stressful, you can walk along the beach, or you might just run a relaxing bath or do something different. Also, if you're a person that comes home and, cracks open the beer, and again, it might sound a little bit silly at this stage, but please do consider it, because if you change that around for a chamomile tea or a herbal tea, it's going to help you to unwind and relax. It's going to help you to prepare for digestion, to digest your evening meal. And it's also going to help you to prepare for a good night's sleep. So all of those things can be achieved from, having a chamomile tea instead of beer. So removing cues from your environment is important as well. So you might go to the bottle shop on your way home from work every day because there's a BWS just, you go past it every day. So why not call in? So, in this case, in this scenario, you might think of just going a different route. It might take you a bit longer, but it might just avoid that kind of cue to, make you buy a drink. So also, if you, for example, meet friends in the evening after work for a drink, why not change that around and say, actually, do you want to meet for a cuppa during the day, go out for a nice nutritious breakfast, go for a walk together? You might like to do a yoga class together, or, climb a mountain, or some other way of that social aspect as well. So thinking outside the social norms that encourage a drinking society, let's challenge that. So other things to consider is balancing your circadian rhythms, looking at stress management, exercise, and diet. So diet, if you change around your diet and you really focus on, if you're cutting out alcohol, let's say cutting out sugar, cutting out processed foods, focusing on whole foods and nutritional foods and foods that are going to really nourish you, you're not going to feel as much as wanting a glass of alcohol, because you're going to be feeling so good and full of energy and everything that having a glass of alcohol is going to be something that you're going to feel less inclined to do. So when you're having a drink, okay, when you're not having a drink of alcohol, what else can you actually drink? And I know this may sound simplistic as well, but if you're used to having that drink in your hand, let's change it around for something, again, that's going to be good for you, and it's going to be helpful. So things like coconut water or mineral water, you can just put some lime or lemon or berries, watermelon, herbs from the garden, a natural electrolyte drink that you might make yourself at home. You can have herbal teas, either iced or hot. You can also have all the powders, your chai, your mushroom, your cacao, smoothies, any of those ingredients, throw them all into a smoothie. Vasica is a practitioner-only supplement, but it is a natural electrolyte. It's got zinc and magnesium, and it's actually really good for, it's delicious as well. You can sip on it. It's also good for preventing hangovers, or if you have a hangover as well. But if you're avoiding it altogether, it's great to just sip on, and also consider sipping on any other supplement powders that you might be drinking throughout the day anyway. So it might be your magnesium drink, it might be your vitamin C drink. So just have that as a little, drink to sip on as well. So some helpful resources that you can have a Google: 1 Year No Beer, Smart Recovery, Hello Sunday Morning, Hip Sobriety, E-Grow, Recovery 2.0, Rich Roll Podcast, and It Takes 7. These are ones that have been recommended by other practitioners. Some audio books that are recommended as well. Alcohol Explained, This Naked Mind, Quit Drinking the Easy Way for Women. And there's a meditation by Joe Dispenza, Breaking Habits and Addictions. So as a naturopath, we do have more tools in our toolkit. So Australian bushflower essence is one of them. Emergency essences is always your go-to. And when you're considering your Australian bushflower essences, you're considering the reasons for alcohol addictions and those emotional things behind it. So strengthening willpower and breaking the dependency behaviour, you might like to consider bottle brush and Monga Waratah. Resolving obsessions and habitual behaviour, you might consider Baronia. To increase and enhance self-discipline, Hybertia. And awareness of one's life direction and positivity, Silver Princess. There is also the bark flower essences. Again, Rescue Remedy is an excellent go-to for any emotional issues. Agrimony, Star of Bethlehem, and Centuary for using alcohol to dampen emotions. Breaking the habit, you might find walnut or chestnut bud helpful. And using alcohol as a crutch to provide courage, you might find mimulus or lark to be helpful. Homeopathy, to help reduce the alcohol cravings, consider Quercus and Syphilium. And to help go through the withdrawal, Arsenicum album, nuts, vomica, and lachesis. So extra support. So consider other modalities and practitioners as well. So you've got neuro-linguistic programming, hypnotherapy, EFT, which is tapping, acupuncture, psychology, counsellor, or kinesiology. So that brings me to the end of my little section. If you're watching this live, we'll stop the recording in a moment and we'll open it up for questions. Remember that will also be the $50 credit. If you're watching the recording, thank you for watching to the end and learn more with Switch on Health.